Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Melanie, your She Shed Scrapper. So today I am back with a 2-page layout, and I am going to be using the new Christmas Story Scrapbooking Workshop. I thought this would be a great way to kind of showcase the products a little bit, and I am going to be working on project 2 and hopefully getting it to work with my photos. That is always the challenge for me because I don't have my own photo printer yet to kind of resize the photos. Everything I have is 4x6 right now. So I'm going to try to, do project 2 using the photos I have. And the scrapbooking workshops, again, give you all the cutting instructions, tells you what size photos that each of the projects needs, and then step-by-step instructions on putting the layouts together. So I am just in love with this Christmas Story collection. It's brand new and just love the deep, rich colors of Christmas. So I'm going to be using these photos of my kids, and these are just ones that I took at home. And like I said, I'm really hoping that I can cut a couple of them down to 4x4 and make them work. So let's get started. I am just in love with the colors of this collection. This red is such a deep, perfect Christmas red. I believe it's scarlet. I did actually buy the ink pad because I thought it was such a pretty red. It would probably be great for 4th of July as well. And our school colors are blue and red, so I will definitely get a lot of use out of that ink pad for sure. So I obviously am just following the instructions on this layout, not too closely as it turns out in a little bit. This did call for, I think it's called the gold gloss spray, that Close to My Heart offers. However, I don't have that. I have the Heidi Swap gold spray, and so I ended up using that instead, and it worked out really nice. So the instructions actually had exactly where to kind of place the gold spray, which was really nice. It said the bottom of page 2 and kind of the top middle of page 1. This is the die cut sheet. So while that gloss spray dried, I kind of went ahead and punched out all of the die cuts here. And in the instructions, it did say to add some gold to some of the die cuts. And so I used my Nuvo drops, and I happened to have a gold and just added it kind of to where they had suggested. I set those up top though to dry as well. I did run a kind of paper towel roll over top of the gold just to make sure that it kind of soaked up any excess ink. I did notice that I didn't let it dry enough, and I did end up with some gold on my fingers and whatnot, but it was not pooled there, I guess, and so that worked out nice. So this is where I didn't follow the instructions very well. I was supposed to add the scallops before I put the green paper back down. Luckily, it wasn't too hard to rip that green paper up to add the scallops. And one thing I like about these layouts, a lot of the layouts in the scrapbooking workshop would be easy enough to kind of create on your own. If you didn't have a scallop punch, like for instance here, I feel like if you just cut out a bunch of circles, you could definitely layer them under that green paper to make it look scalloped, but it would just be circles. So I really do like the fact that you could recreate these layouts whether you have the scrapbooking workshop or not, with different papers, different collections, and whatnot. So that is really nice. And one thing I have found that I like about the scrapbooking workshops is it just kind of gives me more ideas as well for layouts. And I feel like they're easy enough to scrap lift. So here's where I am going to try to trim my photos down, at least those two, to 4x4-ish. I did take a little bit off of that picture that I just laid down there. on the sides, just so the plaid paper kind of stuck out and the pictures weren't kind of right on top of each other, if that makes sense. So I am just placing my photos down, and then I think I realized after this one, after I trimmed this down, I should have put the circle die cuts down before I placed the large 4x6 paper on the left hand page. But again, I was able to kind of tear back the photo a little bit. This was a little bit tricky to cut just because some of the pieces are so thin, it gets caught in my paper trimmer, and so I did end up actually having to just cut the one side with scissors. And this was a little interesting too. So I obviously wanted them to line up right on the edge of the paper, and so you can see I had to totally rip up that entire photo just so that I could make sure that these kind of laid flat and lined up where they needed to be. That top one does hang over the edge a little bit, but I was able to trim it off and it worked just fine. All I did was just add some more tape to this photo here and overlay it on top of that. I think in the workshop it actually had the circle on top of the photo on the left hand page. However, you can see my son sitting so close to the left of the photo that I didn't want the circle overlapping that. And on page 2, the photo actually was supposed to sit on top of the circle. So I just did the same thing on page 1. Again, another nice thing about these scrapbooking workshops, you can follow the instructions as close or not as close as you want to. I know that some makers will actually buy the collection just to have the extra pieces and create their own layouts using the extra die cuts and whatnot, which I think is great. I haven't done that yet. I actually did on accident buy a second Crisp Air scrapbooking workshop, and so that might be one where I just create my own using the extra products, because I think for that one I have already done all 3 workshops, and so it just might be something that I put in my stash and kind of create my own layouts using that workshop. So another thing with this too I thought was really fun, and for some reason I guess I'd never have thought about it, these ornaments, it would be super easy to kind of make on your own. This is just kind of a layered circle die cuts, so very easy. You could stamp where that present is there. You could stamp your own image. So this workshop definitely gave me some different ideas on how to incorporate like things into my other layouts. Kind of just these layering pieces. I just thought it would be really fun if you had a stamp that really went with what you were scrapbooking, and wanted it to kind of stick out. I put foam tape, I think, on the back of every one of those circles, so that sticks out quite a ways from the page. And so just again, just getting some ideas for future, as long as I can remember, obviously. That would be my issue, that I would be like, oh yeah, this is a great idea now, and then just completely forget about it in the future. But that is something, while I was doing it, it was like, oh, I could do this, in another layout. So I just kind of obviously when it gets to this point, I guess just follow the photo they give. They don't say, oh, put this little tiny star in this exact space. It just then says kind of embellish like the picture. And so that's just kind of what I'm doing now. I'm trying to think. I think this top piece, there is going to be one of those that I added those gold Nouveau drops to. That one right there. And that is, I think, either a gold or wood grain present. And then those dots on the outside of that scallop circle are those Nouveau drops. So again, just following the picture and placing the pieces kind of where they suggested. What I loved about this is you got the gold glitter kind of extra embellishments, as well as this wood grain here. And it just added some different textures, different, I don't know, colors. It was just really fun to layer all these pieces. And again, it's good practice for layering your embellishments. I still sometimes struggle when it's kind of florals and kind of leaves and things to really layer. Not something I feel like I've mastered quite yet, or maybe I just never will. But this is definitely good practice for that as well. Just kind of looking at an image and placing things kind of where they are on the image. So this is going to be the same thing on page 2, just kind of embellishing like the picture here. And again, just more of those layered circles. You can see that I'm popping this one up on foam tape as well. The foam tape that I am using is from the Dollar Tree, actually. I do really like it. I do think, though, this recent purchase, I feel like the foam tape is a little bit thinner than it was. And so that's why I kind of felt like I could get away with placing multiple foam stickers in one embellishment, I guess, if that makes sense. I didn't feel like it was going to make the circles pop up way too much and add too much bulk to my layout. So I am enjoying the foam tape from Dollar Tree. But like I said, I think it has kind of thinned out a little bit, which is okay. I don't always want like super thick embellishments, if that makes sense. I thought this was really cute too, how they kind of staggered the stockings. Sometimes I don't really know how to use those, so I kind of liked how they embellished over top of the stockings. I feel like stockings are a pretty common Christmas embellishment, and so it just again gave me kind of another idea. I used that large sticker, that saying, which filled in that space. But if you had another picture, that would be a great place to place another picture as well, and maybe add a different title somewhere else, because that sticker is kind of serving the title purpose. But that is going to finish off this scrapbooking workshop. I will have the link for this collection down below. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we will see you next time. Bye, guys.